from you. Second point is that, so you talked about RPA. I want to really quickly, before we get into our next question, what is the difference, and can you define hyperautomation, RPA, intelligent automation, and process automation?
I can give you the textbook definition for each one of those. And I'm smiling because during our first third Thursday, I gave everyone a quiz as they were introducing themselves and asked them to give me a textbook definition. Because, and this is one thing I have, if you've paid attention to comments that I've made or other conversations that I have, this renaming of everything drives me bonkers, because it makes it so hard for somebody that's on the business side to truly understand what we're talking about if we change the name of it every 2 weeks. So when we take a look at like these, robotic process automation, or RPA, is really looking at it's a software tool that allows you to automate repetitive processes using not a physical robot, but a software bot to complete those processes for you. And there's a couple of different levels of how those bots can, interact with you in your organization, whether they're operating kind of autonomously and going through and completing a process 2,000 times in a day. Or they can work with you on your desktop, almost like back in the 90s, Microsoft had the Clippy paper clip that would pop up and give you little suggestions and tell you how to do things to help you adopt Microsoft. There are kind of these robot assistants that can be deployed that can help you pull up documents if you're on a phone call, or train you how to work through a process. So RPA, I think, is right now one of the hottest software tools, UiPath and Blue Prism and Automation Anywhere. They've got a lot of money behind them. They are doing really, really great things. But RPA is not an end-all be-all solution to solve every problem within an organization. It's one of the tools that we use, and it's a really great tool, but oftentimes the magic of transformation happens when we bring all of our tools together and develop solutions that solve problems. And I would say that's where the difference between RPA and intelligent automation come in. RPA solutions are often coupled with other types of technology like artificial intelligence or machine learning to kind of make the bot smart. And that's where we start to get into that territory of intelligent automation. And intelligent automation is where I think we're going to see a lot more conversations surrounding, and we're going to see a lot more implementations that are tangibly solving problems for organizations. And this is looking at, again, that conversation of blending technologies to create business solutions. So when you take a look at intelligent automation, it might mean a tool like something called optical character recognition, which is a fancy way of saying a computer taking data or information off of a physical piece of paper or a digital document like a PDF, and keeping your people from having to type that information in and put it into a system. We can take that off of the document and move it into a system to drive processes downstream. Now, what makes those processes intelligent is when we start to bring in those elements of the technology like artificial intelligence and machine learning. So rather than having to tell the tool, this is where you take this information off of it and you hand it off to this system, the artificial intelligence can look at a document like an invoice and say, oh, I know because of the algorithms that power me, invoice number, invoice £, invoice NUM period, all mean the same thing. And we're using things like natural language processing to understand that all of those things mean the same thing. And it can start to grab information that is unstructured and interact with it the same way that the human brain would. And that's where we're getting into intelligent solutions that are going to really start to change this landscape and how we're doing our job. Because if we don't need a human to look at an unstructured document to start a process, then we can have processes beginning and going at a much higher volume, and you're using your humans for the human aspects of it. So rather than sitting there and typing in information and reading an invoice and doing 3 things downstream to even get an invoice approval started, you're able to have your team in the background processing exceptions or managing vendor relationships and building strong relationships, or doing analytical work that's going to drive your business forward and identify other ways for you to make money. Whereas maybe before they were too busy with the other stuff that they couldn't get to that exciting part. And I started going a little down the intelligent automation side there. But I know you mentioned hyperautomation as well. And this is where I get into we're naming everything 7 times. Hyperautomation is Gartner's term that they coined and they created to help people, or to not help, I don't know if this is helping anybody, but it's their term that they used to talk about the acceleration of intelligent automation coming into the marketplace, and how these solutions are, again, getting easier to use, easier to implement. We're going to start to see this automation at a higher level using these tools. So that's kind of where we get into the game of semantics. Doesn't matter what you call it, as long as it's helping solve your business problems. I'm in the camp of let's just figure out how to solve the problem.
Yeah, let's just get one definition in the Oxford Dictionary and just have it be that. So.
Yeah, exactly, for all of them.